What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Dylan Matthews back at it again with the Hometown Take Podcast, episode 23, coming at you right now. Got a great one lined up for you as usual. This one, I got a few statements I want to make to y'all. First statement is the Falcons. I'm going to tell you why they made the right decision keeping Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff in the game. Second statement for you. I'm going to explain why what's happening to the Atlanta Hawks isn't all that bad. What happened to the Hawks right now? Them losing, having the worst record in the NBA right now, isn't the worst thing in the world. Third statement, which is kind of altered now. At first, it was going to be why UGA would have to be in the playoff next year if Jake Fromm comes back. But Jake Fromm is not coming back. He is going into the NFL draft. He is foregoing his senior season and going to secure that bag. So now the statement is, UGA fans, you're going to have to lower your expectations. Even more, do not expect a playoff appearance next year. Let's start with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to tell you why keeping Dan Quinn is not all that bad. First reason, continuity. I know you guys hate to hear it, continuity. Everybody thinks change is always a good change. First things first, change is not always a good change. If you think about it, think about every time Matt Ryan has gotten a new coordinator. The next year, never a winning year. First year, even the first year with Kyle Shanahan, yes, the second season was a Super Bowl appearance and a historic offensive year and an MVP year for Matt Ryan. But that first season, we didn't make the playoffs. This first year of coming back to Dirk Cutter, you know what happened. We don't even need to talk about this first year of Steve Sarkisian. So, this first year, whether we got Mike McCarthy and maybe he was calling the plays, or even if he got an offensive coordinator, doesn't guarantee we would have been in the Super Bowl again. Doesn't guarantee we'd have been in the playoffs. History shows, the trend shows that we probably would have missed the playoffs again. So, first things first is with continuity. We're going to have another year of Dirk Cutter, another year for them to refamiliarize and to figure things out. The offense wasn't terrible. It definitely can be better. There's definitely room for improvement. And I think you started to see that improvement in the last game of the season. Started to bring out more stops. Yes, that's because of the last game of the season too. I get that. And there was really nothing to lose. And he was just letting everything loose. But there are some things you can take away from that. Devontae Freeman looked like he started to get his legs back more towards the end of the year. We're seeing there are more receivers were able to get involved. Calvin Ridley's going to be back too. So they're going to be able to do more on offense. So continuity. Continuity is a good thing. Second, would we have been that much better with a Mike McCarthy, a Ron Rivera? Maybe you can make the case for Ron Rivera, but I mean, it could have been the same. Ron Rivera is a great coach. Don't get me wrong. If we would have got rid of Dan Quinn, he's probably the only coach I really would have wanted. But I mean, Mike McCarthy, no disrespect to him. He's got a good record. You look at his career record, 125, 77, and 2. That's great. But that's with Aaron Rodgers. And yes, all the Packers fans right now would argue Aaron Rodgers had never had the talent he needed around him. He never had a great running game in his prime years or whatever. Okay, I get that. That's cool. But it's supposed to be Aaron Rodgers. And if Mike McCarthy can only get one Super Bowl out of him and how you guys dog on Matt Ryan, then what would have been the outcome there? Just think about that. Also, I mean, the guy went 6-2 after the bye. Now, it's one thing if we would have started off 6-2, ended 1-7. Okay, I get it. But we ended 6-2. The players obviously love Dan Quinn. They were playing for Dan Quinn. We were 1-7. We were pretty much as bleak as it could get. The only next step down is 0-8. We were 1-7. Lost 6 games in a row. We were done. And the players, they could have quit right then and there, but they didn't. They rallied behind Dan Quinn, and they saved his job. So obviously, the players wanted to keep Dan Quinn. So isn't that all the reason we need for us to be behind Dan Quinn as well? So I think making the decision to retain Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff for another year, just another year, not giving them extension, but at least giving them one more year to really prove themselves and why they need to keep their jobs for now. So I think Arthur Blank made the right decision. Now, I think if they at least don't get to, at the very least, the divisional round next year, then okay. It's probably time to cut ties. But say they make it, definitely if they make it to the Super Bowl, even if they don't win it, I think, obviously they're good then. They make it to the NFC Championship even, and maybe don't even win. Then I would say they're safe. But you don't at least make it to the divisional round, then okay, how far are we really going to get, and are we really concerned about winning if we keep them after that? But I think for this year, good to keep Dan Quinn for continuity. Obviously, the players want to play for him. And what was really out there that would have made so much more of a difference? Now, the Hawks. The Hawks are bad. But there's a couple factors going into why the Hawks are so bad right now. I mean, they're bad with a capital B. One, John Collins was suspended for 25 games, and he is second star on this team. Two, injuries as a whole. Kevin Huerter's been in and out of the lineup. Now Jabari Parker is hurt. We haven't had a fully healthy roster for many games this year. I think maybe a total of 3. Where we've had Kevin Huerter, Trae Young, obviously, John Collins, Kevin Huerter, all them together on the court. I think it's only been like 3 games where they've been all on the court at the same time. So, haven't been able to really build up that chemistry. And again, the main reason why this really isn't that bad is the Hawks aren't going anywhere. Okay, great. If we get an 8 or 7 seed, great, fantastic. Playoff experience is going to be key. We're going to need it. But we don't need it this season. We don't need it right exactly now. Trae Young's only in his 3rd year. John Collins is 4th. This is Cam and DeAndre's 1st year. We're fine. They got time to learn. They got time to grow. They're getting experience. They're okay. The Hawks are okay. If anything that we get out of this, just get another high draft pick, lottery pick, that we can either trade for a free agent or just get another great piece coming out of the draft, depending on what ends up happening with the prospects and who ends up emerging themselves as the top prospect, whatever. We'll have some flexibility in what we could do. So the Hawks will have options if they end up getting number 1 or number 2 pick or even a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. They're fine. The Hawks are fine. Got a young team, still a young team who wouldn't go past the first round this year, even if they made it to the playoffs. So they're okay. What happened to the Hawks isn't all that bad. Don't panic. I know all the fans, including myself, I want the Hawks to make the playoffs this year. We're going to need it eventually, but we don't need it now. And that's the point. What's happening is okay. This is going to take some patience. Rebuilds are not overnight. It's okay. Like they said in Philly, like Lloyd Pierce was saying in Philly before he got to Atlanta, trust the process. It's going to be okay. Now, UGA fans, Jake Fromm is gone. If he would have stayed, which is irrelevant now because he's not, I would have needed to see UGA in the playoff next year. Yeah, we got one championship appearance that should have won, but that's over with now. We would have needed to see them in the playoff next year for us to really keep the pressure off of them. But now that Jake Fromm is gone, we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like going into next year. You just need to lower your expectations. Just going to keep it straight with you right now. Keep it 100. Lower the expectations. Probably not making the playoff next year. I'd be surprised if we do. It's not impossible. still going to have a great defense. We still got some guys coming back, but we're losing some pieces. Losing Jake Fromm. DeAndre Swift is probably going to leave now. I think the only reason Swift would have stayed if Jake Fromm would have stayed, but now they're both probably going to be gone. So just don't expect a playoff next year. Simple as that. All right. To recap, Falcons. They made the right decision. Give them one more year. I know we're always saying next year, but this is really the next year and the last year if Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff don't pull it together. Hawks fans, chill. It's going to be okay. It wasn't going to be this year, period. If anything, we would have had a little hoorah because we made the playoffs, but they weren't making it past the first round. So chill on the Hawks. They're going to be fine. What's happening isn't all bad. If anything, it just will help us. And UGA fans, unfortunately, we're probably not going to be in the playoff next year. But it's okay. Kirby knows what he's doing. He's bringing the recruits in. We got another top recruiting class coming in. They'll be fine too. All right. Make sure you like this. Tell your friends about the podcast. We're going big in 2020. We're going big this decade, doing big things. And make sure you share the video. All right. I will talk to you guys soon, but until then, peace.